Good morning once again. So let's start the first case study of the day. We have allotted 20 minutes to each case study, where 15 minutes would be allotted to the presentation, and we will have a 5 minutes of Q&A. On 15 minutes, there would be a buzzer, and on the 20th minute, there would be a buzzer ringing for more than thrice. So the first case study is presented by Mr. Vivek Bhargava, the co-founder of ProfitWheel. He'll be presenting his case study titled The First Party Data Intelligence, a Definitive Vehicle for Actionable Insights for Increasing ROAS, Increasing CLVs, Content Strategy, Creative Insights, Choosing Influencers, and everything else. Over to you.
Good morning, friends. Pleasure to be here. So I'm a co-founder of ProfitWheel. We are basically a consumer intelligence platform. We're three co-founders. One of them is based in US. He handles our US market, and we have some Fortune 100 clients out there. Me and Gautam have worked together in Dentsu for almost 10, 12 years together. Built a platform early days, which went to about 35 markets, 1,200 clients. And this is the second version of it in a way. So I think there is only one pain point that we're attempting to solve. I feel that a lot of brands have first-party data, but they don't know anything about their first-party data. So if your best customers, how they're different from your regular customers, what kind of cuisine they prefer, what kind of alcohol they like, what sport they like. The unpacking of this first-party data can help in every single decision the organization takes. And that's what we're attempting to unpack. So broadly, where it comes from, right? Today, all the advertising platforms can actually become very effective for consumer intelligence, because what happens is, in a way, Google tells you what people are thinking, right? It's a database of intentions. Meta tells you what people are doing. You share what you're doing on social media. And Amazon tells you what people are buying. Imagine if somebody could build an engine on a real-time basis that could tap into the APIs of all these platforms, including TikTok, Snap, DV360, Google Analytics, and give you real-time insights about your first-party data, but any third-party topic, sort of like a business search engine, right? So what we try to do is we build this engine. We started this company about July 2020. It took us 18 months to build this engine. We launched in the United States about 4 months ago. We've got now 2 Fortune 100 clients paying us $25,000 a month. We've gone from 0 to 70,000 MRR out there. We started in India just last month. We have now 7 pilots going on with people like Lenskart, Snapdeal, with Bajaj Auto, Policy Bazaar, and all these guys. So basically what it does is that every single decision that you take, this engine can help you take those decisions. There are 2 things when we started off we wanted to achieve. First thing was that you should be able to integrate and start working with us within 5 minutes. You link your read access to a Facebook account, in 5 minutes you are live. You can start analyzing your first-party data. Second thing is, I can train any team member of yours, including your ecosystem of agencies, within half an hour of how to use the platform. It's built almost on this interface. You come out here, start typing, and you can start basically analyzing your data. There are 2 things that we've done, right? We've built this knowledge graph across all the ecosystems. So 1.2 million interests of Facebook get mapped to 200,000 categories on YouTube, to 120,000 interest on programmatic, to 17,000 on TikTok, 600 on Snap, but also taxonomy mapping across the world. So a cricket interest in India will become Formula 1 in Dubai, will become ice hockey in Canada, become soccer in UK. And all this is done on a real-time basis, and the taxonomy has been mapped. It's all GDPR CCPA compliant, because it's all done on a segment or cohort basis, and it goes live within 30 seconds. So you link your platform, within 30 seconds, you start analyzing what your first-party data looks like. So 2 things I would like you to remember what we do as a platform. One is we give you insights about your first-party data. And we have a principle: if it's not actionable, it is not an insight, right? That's the key. So we give you actionable insights about your first-party data. Secondly, I think can help you and acquire more profitable customers. We generally believe that 20% of the customers give you more than 80% of your profits. If you identify what they look like, then you can definitely increase the CLV that you have from your customers. So that's what we do as a company. So I have a very interesting mentor who's been my mentor in Dentsu. He used to handle $40 billion of Dentsu's business. I met him for 10 hours in UK last month. And after 10 hours of discussions, next day he met me for an hour and he drew this one chart for me. He says, Vivek, this one slide explains what your company does. And it was so good that I realized what our company does based on that chart. So I'm going to show that chart to you. So what we're saying is, people already have first-party data, right? So the thing is, they've been uploading it on the platforms for the last 10 years for remarketing. We say, don't change your practice. Keep exactly the same established business practice you already have. Once you upload it, we'll unpack and give you insights about your first-party data and help you acquire more profitable customers. But now just imagine that on a cohort basis, we could enrich that entire segment. So imagine, okay, so last week we went live with LensCard as a pilot. Let's say LensCard has Ray-Ban customers. 100,000 people who have bought Ray-Bans from LensCard in the last 5, 7 years, 10 years, right? So you put that 100,000 customer data in, we unpack it, and the unpacking tells you what kind of movies they like, what kind of music they listen to, what kind of alcohol they prefer, what sport they like. But let's say they have affinity for pets and they have affinity for dogs. So now at the 100,000 cohort level, I can actually give you a creative insight that, why don't you do a creative where you can make dogs wear Ray-Bans, okay? And let's see the delta you create in that creative. But now this enriched cohort comes back into your first party data and goes through the cycle again. Now I tell you, listen, not only they like dogs, but they like golden retrievers more than general dogs. So now you can actually change your creative and make golden retrievers wear Ray-Bans and again pass it through the platform and see what kind of delta you've created on the creative. Because just imagine, right, that if you have thousands of these audiences, people who bought from North India, people who bought South India, people who bought 3 times a month, people who bought 20 times a month, people who bought $1,000 and above, people who bought $10,000 above. Every single audience that you have, what if you could unpack the psychography of the audience within seconds and pass it through the platform? Every time you pass through, on an enrichment level will happen on a cohort basis. Because a lot of times we've tried to build the CDPs, we do 1P, we enrich the data on a one-person basis, but then there's no activation left in media, right? How do you activate on a one-to-one basis? You can use it for CRM, but you can't activate it. So what we thought was, what if you could do enrichment at a cohort and a segment level? Because then you can activate on a segment level immediately, right? And imagine that every cycle you take, the better and better your targeting will become. So this is what we are going to do. I wanted to show a demo live of the thing, but somehow or the other we are not able to get the browser to work and show the thing. It just vanishes off. So I'll just show you some screenshots, but gives you an idea. So what you could do is, you could go into our platform and put any interest. You could put lipstick, you could put Taylor Swift, Virat Kohli, any single interest, which are 1.2 million interests being tracked. I can tell you what affinities they have, which countries of the world. So in order of importance, that this country has maximum affinity. Second is this, size and affinity. So let's say you are already present in India and you want to launch in Indonesia or Dubai, and you're not sure which one. Based on this chart, you can actually decide which country you should launch next. Then what happens is you want to know affinities. So let's say LensCard, there's a lot of affinity we found for Ray-Bans in Philippines. So now what happens, you're launching in Philippines. So your creative, if you put Ray-Bans 20% off, if you walk into a store, there is a very strong possibility of that working, because the affinity of Ray-Bans in Philippines is really high. It's actually even more than United States. So the fact of the matter is, and then we do the psychographic profiling, we know there are a lot of females interested in Ray-Bans versus we would have thought aviators and men and Tom Cruise, but females are interested in Ray-Bans. So if you have this empowered insight, your launch in Philippines will be more successful. And this is just one module of affinity of this. Then you can break up psychographics of any of these interests. So you can say, okay, you know what, these 100,000 people Ray-Bans, what is the thing they like? So they like casual games. In casual games, what do they like? So this is done at a taxonomy level of 1.2 million plus interests. And it all happens real time. So what I would love to show you, if you are interested, is do this with your own data and show you how your data looks like, right? And then what you can do is, you have two interests, right? You have high value customers versus low value customers. What if you could do a contrast between the two? So you have high value customers and low value customers. So you add more interest that are high value and lesser interest that are low value. So you can remove the low value customers from your targeting and you can focus on high value customers. You can do content creation based on the high value customers. You can do creative insights and creative based on high value customers. And it's not limited to you alone, right? You can license it to your creative agency. You can give it to your media planning agency. You can give it to a consulting company that you work with, market research company that you work with. The entire ecosystem of partners can actually use the platform. And then we've provided this thing where you can actually give text information inside the platform, so you can put comments. So just imagine, right? You've done hundreds of runs, or your partners have done hundreds of runs, or your co-founder has done hundreds of runs. All that is stored on your cloud, which you can access and collaborate. So every single insight you have, is your customer profile you did 6 months ago and today, is it becoming younger? Are there more female customers that you're getting in your profile? Are a certain segment in North India is reacting differently from South India? All this is stored for posterity on your cloud for you to access the way you want, right? Then we have different modules. We have a very interesting module called overlap. So the overlap module does is, there are 2-3 uses of overlap, right? One use which we found, which was very interesting, is influencer selection. So imagine you have 100,000 customers. You analyze the psychographic of those 100,000 people. We can also analyze the psychographics of the influencer you want to work with. Now, based on the psychographic analysis of both these, your high-value customers and influencers audience, I'll tell you what is the overlap between the two. So if you know the overlap, you can do two things. First thing is you can choose the influencer based on the overlap. But the second advantage is when an influencer posts something, right, only 1% of the people will see the post because that's the organic reach of influencers. But your overlap could be 10%. So now you can boost the influencer's post targeting that overlap. So two advantages, right? First thing, an influencer is going to love you because you're adding more followers to her. Second, imagine the benefit, right? That you will now get maximum ROI from the influencer campaign, but the influencer will become more and more valuable for you because you're adding followers that are your high-value customers to the influencer's followers. So over a period of time, that influencer will become more and more valuable for you because you will have now more and more overlap with that influencer and your most valuable customers. Same thing we have done further. You can break it up into the contrast and go further. Now, the way I look at it is, right, every single decision that you take, whether it's content creation, whether it's creative strategy, whether it's choosing influencers, whether it's opening new markets or moving to new markets, zip code targeting, if you have high-value customers, I can tell you which zip codes have similar customers. So if you want to open a store, you can actually use this information to open the stores in the right locations. We believe that this is an engine that helps the organization across every single function. It's not in marketing automation or advertising optimization platform. It's a consumer intelligence platform. We believe that every decision you take, because one is it helps you take decisions, but imagine the value of it preventing you from taking a wrong decision. What is the cost of choosing a wrong brand ambassador? What is the cost of launching a new market which is not the right market for you? What is that you target a wrong audience for the new product that you're launching? So imagine, right, we have this tool called ARS. What it does is it analyzes your existing customers, and now you're launching a new category for that same customer. So I'll tell you which of those customers have affinity for that new product. So all your new white label products that you want to launch, I can almost divide your audience based on which audience should you target that product to. So you don't bombard all your users, you bombard only the people who will give you ROI, right? You have a lot of inactive email addresses. One of our partners is Netcore, and Netcore is the first person who put $1 million in our company when he started off. So just imagine you have all these inactive customers. What if I could give you psychographic profiles of the inactive customers, and your headline, you can use GPT-3, and you can now put in out there, per se, what kind of a headline do you want for inactive email addresses, and what if you start activating it? Most people have 80% of the email addresses are inactive. What if I can get you the same CTR and open rates that you get from your active customers by just changing the headline out there? And now everybody is seeing ChatGPT-3, and we have a creative module. We also have a programmatic module. We can actually build a programmatic plan transparent basis. What we believe is that we want this all to be SaaS. It does not matter how much you spend, whether you spend 100 crores a month or 1 crore a month, we don't care. We just want this platform to be available to everybody on a SaaS basis. I'll show you a few case studies of what are the things that we are doing. So, very interesting story. This is a Fortune 100 company in US, they're 100 plus years old. They were getting a lot of conversions from men. So the bottom of the funnel, all leads generated were only men. When we analyzed the profile, we found that they actually had interest in a lot of things, and that interest, predominantly one thing that happened was a lot of females were top of the funnel. So what was happening was females were generating the interest in insurance. Probably they outlived the men, that's the reason. And the thing is, after that, the men were converting. So when they were optimizing, they were only getting lower CAC, but they were not getting increased leads. So when we started targeting top of the funnel, think of it like this, right? I've been in the digital advertising industry for 25 years. There is no top of the funnel optimization platform available to anybody. How do you optimize top of the funnel? If you know the psychographic of your top of the funnel, you can actually optimize on it. They actually increased and quadrupled their leads just by targeting top of the funnel females. And this is a 100-year-old Fortune 100 company, right? We should not be giving this insight to them. But this insight came, and they were able to implement it and get 4x the amount of results, right? One of the other partners we have is they did a study. So they wanted to compare themselves with Apple. They found that people who are interested in Apple, very few of them are interested in them. So now they could actually do a strategy that they'll acquire the overlap. And how do you go about attracting the overlap? So people are interested in not interested in them, you can't target them. It's very difficult to win them over, so you target the overlap, and they realize how small it was. So based on this, the entire strategy has changed. One other case study that I have is, we have a insulin manufacturing company or insulin monitoring company. So what they found was that they were getting a lot of interest and conversions from this thing called nails, human nails. And we were wondering what it is, right? So we asked the agency who was working with us. They didn't have a clue. We asked the client. Suddenly the client says, so you know what? The first sign of juvenile diabetes is yellow and jaundiced nails. So they're getting a few hundred conversions a month. In India, you get 300 conversions when you sneeze, yeah? So I said, okay, big deal here. They say, you don't understand. If they go with us, they stay with us for 30 years. They go with Medtronic, which is our competitor, they stay with Medtronic for 30 years. So the value of this guy is tens of thousands of dollars per individual for us. And now you've given us the insight. There are 7 other diseases we represent. What if we can target the early symptoms of those diseases? And this insight is worth hundreds of millions of dollars for us. And I was thinking to myself, why am I charging $25,000? So same thing, we have done this for an e-commerce giant in India. We've actually reduced the CAC, increased the customer order value. So I think reduction of CAC obviously is the lowest hanging fruit, but what we believe is we can increase the value that they get from their CLV and larger order sizes, right? So that completes my case study part of it, but I'll show you one last example. There was a brand, a luxury brand who sells $25,000, $30,000 dresses in US. They wanted to move to Europe, so they used to do a campaign in Europe. So what we did was we unpacked that psychographic in US, and we have a thing called Market Expander. We found them that the psychographic of those people, what they become in Spain, Germany, UK, and how are they different from target Europe in general. Because they were just targeting Europe. Europe, there's no Europe, right? In the same way, there's no India. There is different parts of India. So the fact of the matter is, just by understanding the psychographics of each city or each country in Europe, they were able to increase and ROAS, which is almost 200%, right? So any questions anybody has, we have 5 minutes, 4 minutes for the question answer I've kept. Would love to answer any questions.
So you spoke about data and first party data. How does the that mapping exactly happen? Is it probabilistic? And when you said that you unpack the data and then you can understand that this person has an affinity towards pets. Okay, so how do you get that intelligence?
Okay, actually it's quite deterministic, because let's say you have 100,000 customers who like Ray-Bans, right? Or who have bought Ray-Bans from you, right? Now what you're doing is you're uploading that as a custom audience on Facebook. We are mapping it, right? So now what happens is there is 60% match rate or 50% match rate, like 40 to 70% is the match rate, minimum match rate you get, right? And now I'm looking at that 70,000. If it's big enough, I analyze it and give you psychographics of that, or I can do a lookalike of it and I can give you a psychographic of that also. But it's all deterministic based on your data that you've uploaded.
Right. So the data has to be in a particular format.
So see, basically for us, right, we can take data from cookies, but they're going away. We can take data from your customer's name, email address, phone number. We can take data from your app installs. We can take from that SDK involved. So it doesn't matter how the source of the data is. We find the platform is an easy vehicle to actually get your data without touching your first party data. So what happens when you work with Fortune 100 companies, right? They obviously don't want you to touch their first party data. But they've been uploading their data into platforms for the last 10 years for remarketing. So he said, let's not change your practice. So you don't need any additional permissions from the organization to do what you've already done for the last 10 years, right? And no point in time, we are touching the first party data, and it's done on a cohort basis. 10,000 and above cohorts, and it's done on a cohort basis.
So suppose anybody has a CDP, okay, and says that we have a lot of data on us. Can you connect and slice and dice it for us?
Absolutely. See, let's say suppose you have a 20 million CDP, right? Now you cut that CDP into 100 audiences, 100,000 each, right? So you have an audience who buys $10,000 a month from you, people who buy from South India, people who buy certain product range of yours, which is the expensive range. Now you can unpack all those separately, and now once the unpacking happens, you can use it for your CRM. You can use it for your media activation. You can use it for your content creation strategy. You can use it for choosing the influencers. Because see, I think the biggest challenge is, right, most people don't know what the customers look like. Right? So the fact of the matter, if you know what your customers look like, you can now do so many things as an organization of improving everything that you do. Can I get somebody else also to ask a question? If nobody else, then I'll ask. Then we'll do one more question from you. Anybody else has a question? Okay, you can ask your next question.
So you also mentioned this influencer thing. So do you have an influencer platform, or how does that work?
Yeah, so see, we are a consumer intelligence company. So what we believe is that something that already is available. So let's say, suppose there are 20 influencers you want to choose. right? We'll analyze your high-value customers. We'll tell you the overlap that your high-value customers have with which of those 20 influencers. So now what happens is you don't choose the influencer based on number of followers they have. You can choose the influencer based on the overlap they have with your high-value customers. Now, once it's chosen, then you can use Coros, you can use 20 other platforms. I've invested in 9 platforms in the influencer space. So my daughter runs an influencer platform today, right? So you can use any platform to target them. So, but the boosting part of it, we can help you do. So the platforms help you choose the influencer, work with them, but they don't allow you to boost the influencer's post. So what we do is that we analyze their audience, we analyze your audience, and we find you an overlap, and then we can boost the influencer's post targeting that overlap. Because otherwise you just get 1% organic reach, right? So even if you have a 10% overlap, you don't end up reaching the entire audience. So here you can actually use it specific. Sorry. Okay. So looks like my bell rang 10 seconds before yours. Okay, thanks everybody. So I think anybody wants to see a pilot with their live data, that's what we love to do. So what we do is that you create a custom audience, and we will immediately show you live data of your audience looks like, your customers look like, and then you can decide what are the things. So we'd love to see if anybody wants to do a pilot with us, right? I'm ProfitWheel, Vivek Bhargava. My details are here. It's a pleasure to talk to you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Bhargava.